You're tuned in. You're tuned in to Stardom 100 Radio. Stardom 100 Radio.
What time is it?
With your host, Tanisha Davis. We're the show that's keeping it all the way 100 with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the heavily orchestrated, never duplicated lyrical symphony known as the Eternal One Eternity, aka Mr. Everlasting, the Lyrical Assassin, and you are tuned into Stardom 100 Radio. Let's go.
Call security!
Yo, what's poppin'? It's the Young Lion, Sammy, and right now you're tuned in to Stardom 100 Radio. Keep it locked.
Hello, everyone. It is a beautiful, beautiful Monday. Today is August the 31st, and you're tuned in to Stardom 100 Radio with your host, none other than Tanisha Davis. And I'm really excited. We have a very special guest on the show today, Mr. Robert Keisling. And I'm excited about this discussion because he's a criminal justice trial lawyer, and so I know that this is going to be an amazing topic, and you all will also enjoy this show and this discussion today. So, Robert Keisling, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, I was very excited when I found out that you were in criminal justice, because I'm also a criminal justice major. I have my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, so that was truly exciting for me.
Super. Yeah, I'm a family and criminal trial lawyer out of Austin, Texas. Been doing it a long time. So, and then obviously that precipitated me to do the book, and I'm glad that you're doing some criminal justice. There's a lot of different areas in criminal justice that need to be addressed.
Yes.
Happy that you're on board to do that.
Yes, definitely. I'm trying to find my way in this system, but it's like you said, it's so many different avenues. So what made you get into this field? I know I was reading a little information about you. Your father was a football coach, and your mother was in HR. What made you decide to go that route?
I just wanted to basically learn what the legality was and how they came up with basically the laws of how things are run. So, and then it kind of went from there and started with a firm that wasn't. It was actually a personal injury firm, but they need someone for family criminal law. And then they're like, "Hey, do you going to go try cases?" I'm like, I guess." They're like, "Don't worry, you don't have a sign around your neck, so they won't know you're new," which is kind of true. And so how it started.
Wow, awesome. So you do have a book that is a #1 bestseller on Amazon. It's called The Discredited Citizen, and it's a 5-star book. It's a ton of amazing reviews. And so like what made you write this book?
It actually started, and it's dystopian, and it's kind of a dark dystopian, set in the future. But basically, what started it was Wisconsin versus Loomis, and I just want to give a caveat. I hate to do a lawyer thing right now, but I don't practice law in Wisconsin. It was just based on research. So, and what they did is they used a thing called compass, and if people don't know what that is, and a lot of people don't, I just a short digression. I just on a whim, I had asked one of the prosecutors here prior to the whole COVID-19. But I said, "Hey, are you familiar with compass?" He's like, "What?" So it's like, it's not everywhere, but it's going to be everywhere. And you're starting to see it pick up, and obviously a lot of the artificial intelligence. But anyway, so what they do is they use this artificial intelligence, and it's programmed by humans. So I don't want to call it true artificial intelligence, but and they feed it a bunch of data. And then when they gave it a bunch of data, this gentleman was he was accused, and when he was sentenced, there was three choices, right? He said you're either bad, really bad, or really, really bad. And from the data, it said that you're really, really bad. So we're going to sentence you to X numbers of years. And so he appealed, and the thing that came out of it the most was, and what I want people to take away is that not the Supreme Court of the United States, but the Supreme Court of Wisconsin. And again, this is just based on research, not as a lawyer from Wisconsin. But they said that the company's interest in keeping the data that they used, basically the accuser of this gentleman that they used to sentence him, that trumps your due process rights. So therefore, they can keep that data secret, and they're going to go ahead and they can go ahead and still what I consider violating your due process rights by using this information. Now, the court did say, I just want to make it clear that the court did say that we're going to put basically a warning label on anything that we use in the future with this, and that also, because it was only one part of the sentencing that was considered, therefore we didn't really use it for the sentencing, but clearly they did, and they used that, what I call a black box. And I would say to people, what is a black box? And they think of airplanes, but a black box is really, it's kind of a fictional thing to a degree, but it's like your cell phone, right?
Yes.
So you and I, right? We download apps. We do everything with our phone, but we don't know how people the codes and the algorithms and the machine learning that goes into all that to make it happen, right? We don't know that. But we know how it works. Well, that's what a black box is. And so these judges and these lawyers and the only person or people that know what's in this rhythm and this information that's fed into this metaphorical black box is the company, and the courts are protecting that information because they're calling it a trade secret. And then this gentleman's sentence, I think, predominantly based on that. And again, that's just my opinion. Wow. That's how it all started. And then the more I researched, I saw, like, for instance, Amazon, they had to pull the plug on their AI and machine learning software because it was biased against women. And so their hiring practices. So they pulled that. There was also, I did a lot of research in facial recognition, and then there was one of the things that came out of it. Amazon had a program, a facial recognition program, and 28 congressmen were mislabeled by mugshots, by this facial recognition as being a criminal. So it's just and I think I have some of that on. I have all my podcasts that are up on Apple. I try to get all the documentation there if I can, so people can just click on the links and do their own homework. I encourage everyone to do their own homework and get the word out on this stuff, because if they allow this to continue, the issue that's going to happen is that they're going to privatize the justice system. And what I mean by that is what's happening in China and the social credit system that they have over there. So by privatizing it, these private corporations can go around the Constitution. And if they can go around the Constitution, then what protections do we have? So that's what started the whole thing.
Wow. That you just shared a lot of information that even helped me look into some things that I didn't even know about, you know. And you know what's amazing? Like I worked at Amazon, you know, maybe like a year ago, and I never knew that information as far as like that they did that. Like I never knew anything about it.
2018, I believe, is when they pulled that, and then they argued with the companies, but they still pulled it, and clearly, you know, it was biased against women for men, like I said, and all because of again the AI. There's programming, right, where you the basic programming, and then software stuff, and then you have machine learning, and then you have verification of the machine learning, and then you have what's called deep learning, and that's neural it's kind of like a new thing, but neuro artificial intelligence, which I would consider the closest thing to artificial intelligence. The problem is that the data, there's two problems. One, if you're having a human input data, then A, how do you check that bias? B, even if there is, it's not even an intentional bias, right? It still has to be checked, and how is that checked? If we can't see what those algorithms are, if it's related to something such as sentencing or the criminal justice system, right?
Right.
But then you go even deeper with this new learning and neural learning by the AI. They can't even explain how the AI came to some of the conclusions it did. So it's like, well, wait, you don't. First of all, you don't know. First of all, you're biased. Second of all, you before we even crawl, we're trying to walk, and you know, unless we know where things are going, and I mean, that's a whole different intelligence. So I just think people need to be aware of it.
Yes, definitely. I'm looking at a lot of the stuff that's happening around us. When you talk about AI, how do you feel about the changes that are happening with, you know, how like they're removing, if you look at some of your local stores and everything, it seems like they're getting rid of cashiers. There's a lot of computers, you know, now replacing people, you know, and what are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts is I don't think it's a good thing. I think just some of the reports I read, and I won't get into too much detail on what I read, but there was a lot of briefings and higher ups and portions of our government that you know, there's definitely a push for AI, and I think I read somewhere that over 50% of the job workforce, the organic workforce, the human workforce, is set to not exist by 2030. Wow. What I mean by that is the workforce, not the people. I just want to clarify. Writing sci-fi.
Yeah, we're gonna be gone. Just wait.
Hope not.
Oh my goodness! It makes me think about the movie I, Robot. So it's like,
right? Yeah.
What are we looking forward to, man? So speaking on that, you have a film in development called In Memory of Man. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah,
it's been a tough road to get that going. But you know, when COVID hit, it kind of just put everything at a standstill.
Yeah.
I really that is a very long story, but certain things happened even prior to that with the development of that project. That basically it's I got to start over from scratch, and we're doing well, and it is in development, and we're moving it forward. But you know, I'm trying to get a good production team together. We do have a good production team together, and hopefully we can move it forward. We also are working with just this Discredited Citizen is also a great script, and it has been reviewed by some pretty good people, big people, and there's been some positive feedback on that. So there's probably 3 or 4 different projects that are sci-fi related that we're working with, and any of them will be a good fit at this point.
Awesome. So, and I know you mentioned about COVID. How are you being able to stay productive during this time? I know, like, with that having to be stalled, you know, like, what are ways that you're staying productive on it?
Well, for me, it hasn't slowed down too much. I've done mediations, and I've actually had court proceedings, but it's definitely been weird in the sense that if it's all been through with Zoom or WebEx or Microsoft, I think it's called Teams, but every county seems to have its own way, or even sometimes judges their own way of they want to do it. So you have you still subpoena the witnesses, but it's just kind of it's more administrative and you do criminal justice, so you can kind of understand that it's more of a one person it just doesn't have that same feel, right? You don't have the same in a courtroom or in a classroom, right?
Yeah.
You have people, and you got that feeling, and I think a lot of that is in court is that way. You have to. You can be prepared all you want, but as soon as you get in there, there's going to be one or two things that you're never going to expect, and you have to adjust on the fly.
Oh yeah.
With this, they've changed it to where the documents have to be uploaded. Opposing the other side has them. It's similar to a jury trial, except that there's just nothing. I don't know how to explain it. Really, it's just there's nothing really hidden, and you can't get that visceral feel from the witness. So it's just it just seems so very almost robotic.
Yeah. Wow. Man, like everything now is definitely being handled like with Zoom, everything's remote. It's definitely different. It's like, man, trying to make that transition to do things that you're normally not used to doing or having to do. So it's definitely been different.
How have you been staying active during this time?
Well, for me, since I'm more of a writer, so I'm usually behind my laptop a lot of the times. So it's like it helps out a little bit, except that when with a lot of the major events and everything has now been canceled, and you really can't do too much traveling like you used to, to all of these events, to handle the press and so forth like that. So a lot of that has been happening through Zoom, it's pretty interesting, because you're like, you want to be there in person to experience it and, talk to people in face to face. So it's very different, even for the kids with the remote learning, it's very different.
Yeah.
My daughter, she's just like, I don't want to be on the computer. I want to be in the classroom. And so this whole outbreak has just really been very different. Do you feel that things are going to go back to the same after this?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. It's that's a tough question. I hope so.
Yeah. So
what about you?
I think it's like you said, it is a tough question. But I think it's gonna be a little different, trying to transition back into the normal. It's gonna be because it's like, you're gonna still be wondering, like, where did the virus go to? Is it still out there? Like, are we safe? It's just, man, it's gonna be tough. It really is. One thing I admire about you that you're not just an author, but you're into developing film. Like, what made you switch over into like writing screenplays? And because that's something I've always been interested in doing. So what made you get into that?
I always wanted to do that first. I had to be a lawyer at some point, because writing, obviously, I did the Hollywood thing and tried to go out there, and and then I had to come back, and it was a seesaw for a long time. But I love the moving image. I prefer that. I think it's a much better medium than I love writing too, but I think it's a much better medium to get a point across than because you have so many different. It's not just someone's imagination. You have someone's imagination. You have music. You have dialogue. You have storyboarding. You have development. Right? You have all these things that just can be this moving experience. And novels obviously can be an amazing thing as well. I don't want to take anything away from that. I'm just saying, for me, that's what really caught me. And really, The Matrix in 1999. That dates me, but 1999 is really what sparked it for me, and then it was just, and then I met people along the way. You know how it goes, and it just seems to, someone will come in, someone will leave, it's that thing. So you just keep going because you think that there's something there. So that's what got me there. And then when one of the movies that I was next up for a movie that came out. I'm not going to mention anything besides that. It didn't do well, so I was not. The producer wasn't able to move forward with IMM, In Memory of Man, and so then I had to restructure everything. So I came back to law, kept in touch with some of the people with the development, and then and that's when I started writing the novels. And I kind of did that, honestly, with a couple of them, was because I wanted to make sure there was more of a copyright to them, in the sense that with screenplays, I didn't just want one day to see my stuff on TV. And don't get me wrong, Hollywood, I mean, for the most part, I don't think, they don't do that kind of stuff on a daily basis. They don't need to. There's just enough material out there where they can option it to do that. That's just me being a paranoid lawyer, I guess. But so, and then after that, and all this stuff happened, I just got the inspiration, seeing all this algorithm, and it gave me the idea of Discredited Citizen. So that came out, and then I worked with a gentleman out of Finland with the screenplay. Excellent writer. Together we put it together, and so there you go.
Wow. Awesome. So when would you say, I know you said that filming had stopped for the In Memory of Man, but when would you estimate, or are you all going to just start back filming next year and still probably have it completed, or what's the plan for that?
There's no way to tell. I think that what you'll see is, to a degree, a lot of what they call tentpole movies are going to be the predominant thing. I mean, Netflix, yes, and I get that, but getting a sit down with Netflix, and some people make it sound easy. It's not. Maybe if you get that manager, that agent, sure. But you'll see like the Star Wars, the Marvel, that kind of thing, and I think, like, I thought I saw Australia was often like 150, 250 million. Wow. But I think that'll probably get eaten up by the bigger productions, or even the studios, because, right, the thing that you'll need is distribution. But that's a whole other thing. So the answer is, I digress. The answer is, I don't think independent production, mainstreaming, like it used to be, is going to happen for a while.
Wow. I like that you mentioned about I always wondered about the Netflix, like how that process went, because I was seeing so many movies popping up, and I was like, is it easy to get with Netflix now? Like, is it easy to get a deal with them? So I was wondering about that.
Well, it would depend, and again, I'd have to look into it a little more, but from just a cursory understanding of it, it's called proof of concept. They used to be able to just pitch them, and then they got so big they did what's called proof of concept. So you would do like an episode or do a movie, and then you would send that in. And then now I think that because of the fact that when COVID hit, and I think that they were already competing streaming wise and changing the scope of the landscape of the film industry, that they in themselves became part of more of a Universal or Vivendi type company, and competing with the big boys, and are one of the big boys, obviously, and they got major stuff over in China.
Wow, man.
So I do not know. I have not followed up with Netflix in a while, so I don't know what the current requirements would be for you to get something in. But I bet it's going to be tough, because I think everyone's probably trying to get a meeting with them. So
most definitely.
But you got Hulu, you got other
avenues, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed earlier you mentioned about having a podcast. So for those who are listening that want to be able to keep up with you as far as the information that you're sharing, how can they follow your podcast?
It's Apple. I think it's, if you just type in Google, it's the In Memory of Man podcast. I have not hit past a couple episodes, just because it's so crazy with the book that and I'm a one-man show right now, and then trying cases, and all that. It's been kind of tough, but I'm going to get back to it here shortly. It's not slowed down necessarily, but I can definitely put a different hat on in the upcoming weeks, and I plan to get something out there.
Awesome. And for those listening, how can they follow you on social media, or do you have a website that they can go to stay updated?
Sure, robotcrimeblog.com, and also if they just go to Amazon and type in either my name or discredited citizen, everything will pop up.
Awesome. Well, it has been a pleasure speaking to you. You've shared like a lot.
Well with you.
You've shared some information that I didn't even know about, and it's been very helpful. And I know that everyone that listened is gonna be inspired by what was shared, especially talking about artificial intelligence and everything. That really shined the light on a lot of things. So I really appreciate you sharing that with me today.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you having me on the show. I really do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you have a wonderful week, because I know you got a busy week ahead of you. So I thank you for being on the show. And thanks. All right. You have a wonderful day.
You too. You take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Alrighty. Thank you all for tuning in today to Stardom 100 Radio. That was, again, our special guest, Robert Keisling, who is a criminal trial lawyer. He's also the best-selling author of Discredited Citizen, which is a #1 bestseller in robotic engineering on Amazon. 5-star rated. Be sure to go and purchase the book. And also just be on the lookout for his upcoming film that is in development called In Memory of Man. So I thank you all for tuning in again. Be sure to follow Stardom 100 Radio on all digital streaming platforms at Stardom 100 Radio. And also be sure to stay safe. Practice safety, wash your hands, wear a mask, do whatever you have to do to make sure that you are protecting yourselves out here during COVID. This broadcast has been brought to you by Femi Magazine, so be sure to visit their website, www.femimagazine.com. That's FEMI. And you can also follow them on social media at Femi Magazine. Also, you can keep up with me, of course, your host, Tanisha D. Davis, on Instagram, and at Tanisha D84 on Twitter. Thank you all for tuning in to the show again today, and you have a wonderful, wonderful week.